The world is not as it seems. Beneath the veneer of order, beneath the comforting illusions we cling to, lies a truth both terrifying and liberating. This is the landscape of Friedrich Nietzsche's mind, a terrain of shattering convictions and relentless questioning. We embark today on a journey through his philosophical odyssey, a descent into the abyss where values crumble, and a new dawn, however bleak, attempts to break through. We will trace the path of a man who dared to challenge the very foundations of Western thought, a man who stared into the void and, instead of recoiling, wrestled with its implications. We will witness his critique of morality, his relentless dissection of truth, and finally his grappling with the very essence of nihilism. This is not a story of easy answers or comforting conclusions. It is a challenge, a provocation, a call to confront the uncomfortable realities of existence. This is the descent of Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche's journey begins not with nihilism, but with a profound unease regarding the very nature of Western culture. His early work, The Birth of Tragedy, reveals a deep-seated dissatisfaction with the rationalistic spirit he saw as dominant. He saw in ancient Greece two powerful forces, the Apollonian, representing order, reason, and form, and the Dionysian, embodying chaos, instinct, and ecstatic experience. For Nietzsche, the tragic essence of Greek drama lay in the interplay between these two. But with Socrates, reason was elevated at the expense of instinct. The beautiful, terrifying chaos of life was tamed, rationalized, and ultimately diminished. Socratic rationality, with its unwavering faith in reason and logic, became the dominant force, and with it, a devaluation of the non-rational, the instinctive, the life-affirming forces that Nietzsche saw as vital to human flourishing. This rejection of the Dionysian is the first crack in the edifice of Western values that Nietzsche will later shatter entirely. This dissatisfaction, this sense of something vital being lost, will fuel his later and far more radical critiques. Nietzsche, ever the philosophical surgeon, now turned his scalpel to the heart of our moral convictions. On the Genealogy of Morality, he exposes the hidden, often unpleasant origins of our cherished values. He sought to understand not what is moral, but how these moral concepts came into being. He proposes that our concepts of good and evil are not eternal truths, but rather human constructs born out of specific historical circumstances. The notion of good, he argues, did not originate in some divine revelation or universal principle, but rather within the ruling class, the nobles, the strong. They defined good as that which enhanced their own power, health, and dominion. Bad, on the other hand, was defined as that which threatened their dominance. Nietzsche contends that the weaker and oppressed, resentful of their subjugation, then created a slave morality. They inverted the values of their oppressors, declaring the virtues of humility, meekness, and self-sacrifice as good, thus turning what was once perceived as weakness into a source of moral superiority. This, he argues, is the origin of Christian morality, a morality that glorifies suffering and devalues the life-affirming instincts. Nietzsche saw this as a catastrophe, a crippling of the human spirit. He saw the values of modern society as being rooted in this inversion of values, and therefore fundamentally unhealthy. This is not morality, he argues, but a resentment-fueled ideology that holds humanity back from the greatness and self-overcoming it is capable of. With the foundations of traditional morality shattered, Nietzsche now confronts the monumental implications of his critique. He declares shockingly, God is dead. This isn't a declaration of atheism in the conventional sense, but a proclamation about the loss of meaning, the collapse of the transcendent order that for so long provided the basis for our values. For Nietzsche, the death of God is not a cause for celebration, but a profound crisis. It signifies the loss of the grand narrative, the ultimate purpose that had structured our understanding of the world. The very ground upon which we have built our society, our morals, our very lives has dissolved. This loss of meaning ushers in a new era, the era of nihilism. For Nietzsche, nihilism isn't simply the rejection of belief, but an awareness that there is no inherent meaning or objective value in the universe. All values are human creations, constructed and therefore artificial. He understood nihilism as an experience of despair, a realization of the ultimate meaninglessness of existence. But he did not see this as a cause for despair. He saw it as a challenge. This recognition of nothingness, of the absence of inherent value, is only the preliminary stage. The real task for Nietzsche is not to escape from nihilism, but to find a way to confront it, to overcome it. This is where the concept of active nihilism arises. Unlike passive nihilism, which succumbs to despair and becomes trapped in meaninglessness, active nihilism is a life-affirming response to the absence of inherent value. It is the recognition that since all values are human constructs, we are free to create our own. Nietzsche introduces the concept of the will to power, not simply as a drive for domination, but as the fundamental life force, the striving to overcome oneself, to expand, to create, to shape one's own world. It's not simply about power over others, but the power to shape one's own self through constant self-overcoming. This process of relentless becoming is at the heart of the Nietzschean project. Nietzsche challenges us to embrace the chaotic nature of existence, to create our own meaning, to become the authors of our own values, to affirm life in all its terrible and magnificent complexity. This is not easy. It is an arduous task, requiring great courage and unwavering self-belief. He recognized the inherent difficulties in such a process, but believed that only in the face of the nothingness could one truly affirm the beauty and tragedy of existence, that only by taking full responsibility for life could one truly live it. The culmination of Nietzsche's philosophical project lies in the concept of the Übermensch, often mistranslated as Superman. He's not a biologically superior entity, but a symbolic representation of the human being who has overcome the limitations of traditional morality, embraced the responsibility of self-creation, and affirmed life in all its tragic beauty. The Übermensch is not merely an individual, but an ideal of what humanity can achieve. An individual who embraces the totality of existence, both the joyous and the agonizing. They are the ones that have fully understood and embraced active nihilism. And as a way to fully embrace and affirm this life, Nietzsche introduced the concept of eternal recurrence. This is a thought experiment, a challenge to imagine living this life exactly as it has occurred over and over again for all eternity. The question he asks is, could you accept this fate? Could you find it in you to say yes to every moment, every joy, every sorrow, knowing it will return endlessly? For Nietzsche, this is the ultimate test of affirmation, the most intense way to embrace life in its complexities. This is not a comforting promise of reward, but a demanding call to embrace the present moment, fully, passionately, relentlessly. To fully accept what is, to forge our own values and meaning within this life that can then be endlessly affirmed. Nietzsche's journey is not an easy one. It is a path filled with challenges, confrontations, and demands that seem almost impossible. He doesn't offer a prescription for happiness or a promise of salvation. Instead, he presents the stark reality of existence and challenges us to do the impossible. Create our own meaning, to be the authors of our own values. His philosophy is, at its core, an invitation to confront the nihilistic abyss, not with despair, but with courageous affirmation and an unwavering commitment to self-overcoming. While his conclusions may not be palatable for everyone, his relentless questioning and critique of received wisdom remain profoundly relevant today. He asks us to question our own values, to examine the roots of our morality, and to consider whether we are living truly, authentically, to move past the inherited ideas and to create what is our own destiny. His words are not gentle. They are often harsh and unforgiving. But within this harshness lies an urgent call for a radical reevaluation of who we are and what we aspire to be. The descent of Friedrich Nietzsche is not a comfortable stroll. It is a perilous climb. It requires courage, self-awareness, and the willingness to confront the deepest and most unsettling truths.